Llegó la hora de un combo de miles en motora, patrullando las 24 horas. Boricua decora con el puño arriba a la...
This is Steve Zeltzer with WorkWeek. And this week, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, at a campaign rally at Madison Square Garden, had a comedian who launched a tirade of racist attacks, anti-Semitic attacks, and accused the Puerto Rican people of being on an island of garbage. And the attack on Puerto Ricans has led to a massive anger, growing anger in Puerto Rico. And joining us tonight is Ricardo Ortiz. He's a labor researcher and has been active in the Puerto Rican labor movement and has been active in the working class in struggles in the United States as well. So welcome to our show, Ricardo.
Thank you, Steve. Good evening.
So Ricardo, why don't you talk about what happened at that rally? What was that all about, that they had this comedian, so-called comedian there, making these kind of statements?
Well, that's part of the whole overall campaign of Donald Trump of attacking minorities, even people that do not agree with him, his politics. Obviously, this is a candidate that has shown through his life racist behavior, coming even from his father. We all know that his father was sued many times in New York City by African American and other minorities about tenants' rights in his properties. This is so it comes from there, and we all know about Donald Trump campaigned in the 80s against those 5 Black and Hispanic youth that were arrested and framed in the case of a rape of a woman at Central Park. He was demanding the death penalty for these guys that eventually proved to be innocent of all these charges. So, Donald Trump is appealing in this election to the most backward and reactionary segments of American society. So that rally, his organizers, they brought this comedian that make all these comments against Puerto Rico and also against Latinos. But this hasn't stopped there, I want to say. I mean, just yesterday or the day before yesterday, he made some comments that are degrading toward women.
And of course, he went down to Puerto Rico and threw paper towels at people. What happened in that hurricane, the aftermath, and what happened to the people of Puerto Rico during that time?
Sure. As you well know, the hurricane was a total catastrophe for the people of Puerto Rico and in many Caribbean islands. So the catastrophe that happened in Puerto Rico was overwhelmed him, and he did, finally he was convinced by his advisors that it would be good publicity if he would fly there to take advantage of the situation. And he did so after 2 weeks of the tragedy striking upon the Puerto Rican people. And once he was there, he arrived. When he arrived in San Juan, he made demeaning comments like, Katrina was worse than this. This was not as Katrina. And then he was taken to a community center where people were desperate, and he grabbed some paper towel and started throwing it at people with a total disregard of any respect, and definitely that caused a very angry reaction from the Puerto Rican people. And while he was president, also Congress approved some packages of aid, and he withheld as much as he could to those funds. It has been discovered now this information is coming that he did that.
And candidate Vice President Kamala Harris went to a Puerto Rican restaurant and said on the same day that that happened, and said that what she wanted to do in Puerto Rico was to have more private-public partnerships for business people in Puerto Rico. Maybe you can talk, I mean, Puerto Rico has been a colony of the United States, and hasn't privatization of Puerto Rico created this terrible situation for the working people of Puerto Rico?
Well, I can tell you some examples about that. You're absolutely right in the historical context, and particularly in the last 30 years, many so-called PPPs have implemented in Puerto Rico that have caused distress and disgrace for the Puerto Rican people. And I'll give you a more recent example. With the arrival of the Oversight Control Board, Fiscal Control Board, that actually President Obama signed into effect, also came the demand of doing some PPPs. And one of these PPPs is in the energy sector, that they privatize the public utility energy corporation and gave it to a conglomerate made of an American company and a Canadian company, Luma and Genera. And ever since they have done that, there are blackouts almost every day or every week for days. So that's one example. I mean, people are really frustrated with the situation with Luma and Genera. And also, one example that has affected the people of Puerto Rico dramatically. Puerto Rico had a local healthcare system, that it had dispensaries and hospitals throughout the island. And, this pro-statehood governor called Pedro Rosselló, he won the elections in 1992. And immediately he initiated a process of privatization of the whole public healthcare system. And, some insurance companies from New England came and took over these hospitals. And it created a chaos. People no longer could have access to it. These companies close dispensaries and put hospitals in situations that they could not have, give effective service like it used to be before. And now, I mean, as we speak, people in Puerto Rico are talking about that the whole system is a crisis in the medical public system, because it has been practically given to these corporations based in the United States. And this has provoked an exodus of nurses, doctors, and healthcare professionals. Now, the Orlando Kissimmee metropolitan area is packed with, professionals from Puerto Rico that have been affected by these, public and private partnerships. So it is a fraud what Kamala Harris is saying. And I want to say about the healthcare system being privatized. The head of the SCIU at that time, Andrew Stern.
Or John Sweeney. That was John Sweeney.
Andy Stern flew to Puerto Rico. Sweeney was the president of the FLCIO at that time, before Rosselló was sworn into the governorship. Andy Stern was the president of SCIU, and he flew to Puerto Rico to support the privatization of the healthcare system. And he used as an excuse that, now, everybody that is indigent or has no resources will be able to be taken care of. Actually, I want to say that those workers that are under the SCIU being organized in Puerto Rico, they are facing the consequences of what their leaders supported over there, what Andy Stern supported.
And this privatization of has brought Humana and these private insurance companies to Puerto Rico, who run Puerto Rico now, the health system, and SEIU members are in Puerto Rico working at these privatized hospitals. So what have been the ramifications of Trump's rally at Madison Square Gardens? Do you think it was a fascist rally? There's a debate about that. And what has been the effect in the Puerto Rican community in this country and in Puerto Rico?
So talking about the rally, definitely many people say it was a Nazi rally, a fascistic rally, a racist rally. It could be all three combined for what has been expressed. Definitely, those insults that this comedian made have had a reaction throughout the Puerto Rican communities in the United States and in the island of Puerto Rico. Many celebrities, many even Republican politicians from Hispanic ancestry has separate themselves, want to take distance from the comments, and it certainly has raised backlash against these against those insults. It is a fact, and but the problem is not for the Puerto Rican people alone. I mean, Trump has demonstrated on and on his racist behavior against immigrants, calling Mexicans bad hombres, insulting Salvadorian immigrants. He said that Haitian immigrants were eating cats and dogs, pets in Ohio, which it turned out to be a lie. Trump represents the worst aspects of the capitalist system in the United States.
And the history of Puerto Rico, the United States, when they invaded Puerto Rico, what was the role of the AFL under Gompers?
They came in 1898. The American Spanish Civil War took place 1898, and the American military landed on the 25th of July, 1898. Well, the FL under Sam Gompers, they established a first relationship because the leadership of the nascent trade union movement in Puerto Rico, Santiago Iglesias Pantin, went to the United States and looked for Gompers and established a conversation where he cemented an alliance with Gompers. I mean, it's fair to say that at first, Gompers was not even interested in this affair, but he was convinced by this reformist leadership. And the FL named Santiago Iglesias as the representative, not only in Puerto Rico. Many people don't know that in Cuba, the FL also established trade unions, curiously. So Santiago Iglesias Pantin became the representative of the AFL and in Cuba and in Puerto Rico, So that was the grip of Yankee imperialism. It is funny because they start having a conflicting relationship because that Puerto Rican group was interested in establishing a political party, and they did, and participating in elections, which, Gompers did not agree with that model. But obviously, the intent of Gompers and the FLL was supporting American foreign policy throughout the Caribbean region. Like you can say, completely friendly relations without conflict. There was a conflict. And obviously, by the 30s, right after, before that, Sam Gompers dies and there is a new leadership, some of these conflicts will increase. That at that point, an independent labor movement led by the Communist Party in Puerto Rico created the Confederación General de Trabajadores, which gathered independent unions, but also was the FL-CIO at that time, still on the island, and is still present to this day. So the FL and then the FL-CIO always have supported, American ways of trade unionism, bread and butter, supported colonialism, had good relations with the colonial government, single out radical activists. Yes, that's how, they have behaved.
And the privatization of Puerto Rican healthcare system, Puerto Rican power industry, these unions, I understand, have also been involved in sending funds into the Puerto Rican political system to support candidates, including union people. Is that true?
Oh yeah, I mean the FL-CIO has always done that. I mean even in the starting when they fused the FL and the CIO and their group in Puerto Rico, they had a great relationship with the colonial governor Luis Muñoz Marin, and they gave contributions to his campaign since the 50s, and right before when the FL-CIO fused, when they fused together in the 50s, ever since the FL-CIO has contributed to the campaigns of, colonial politicians. Governor Luis Muñoz Marin had an excellent relationship with the FL-CIO. Members of the FL-CIO, like Evaristo Toledo, were members of his party. They produced pamphlets warning workers to keep communist sympathizers out of campaigns. And, the government was very happy about it. That has been since the 50s all the way down to today as we speak. No difference whatsoever.
And the issue of the issue of free trade zones, Operation Bootstrap, a movie about the free trade zone in Puerto Rico. Why was that a significant intervention, and what did it do for the people of Puerto Rico, Operation Bootstrap?
Well, Operation Bootstrap was the first massive exercise of, maquilas in the hemisphere, of cheap labor through massive American industries. Obviously, as part of colonialism, one of the things that imperialism and colonialism does is, get cheap labor, cheap resources, and that effectively was one of the intentions of that. The consequences of Bootstrap also were to the point that they destroyed the agriculture in Puerto Rico. They brought these multinational corporations hand in hand contracts already made in the U.S. in many cases to keep away the radicals, the independentista movement, the socialist movement away from the labor movement, because in the 40s and in the late 30s there was a massive radical nationalistic socialist communist organizing. And actually, I mean, that trade union federation that I mentioned, the CGT, the Confederación General de los Trabajadores, was led by a communist member of the Puerto Rican Communist Party, Juan Sáenz Corrales, which actually during McCarthy's and the U.S. government went after him and other activists and suffer repression, etc. Also, people from the Nationalist Party of Puerto Rico that were in prison, killed throughout the 30s, 40s, 50s. So bootstrap definitely affected the whole ecosystem, in terms of affecting, the country with pollution, was an agent of anti-communism, so-called stabilization. And since bootstrap continued throughout the 60s, then it was used as a counterpost to the Cuban Revolution, trying to put out that, okay, you can get development through free trade, supposedly, and push, and you don't have to do revolution nor, have to resort to radicalism. That was the intention of it.
And one of the results of U.S. intervention in Puerto Rico, and as well many other countries that the United States has gone into, is the forced migration of Puerto Ricans to the United States. As you were saying earlier, nurses, teachers, many workers have left, professionals, but also there have been a large number of Puerto Ricans who've gone into the military. And did that have any ramifications as far as Milley being concerned about using the troops against American people? That there might be a problem with his use of troops to shoot demonstrators in Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, Puerto Rican migration has different waves. The first waves were people that were agricultural workers, poor people that came to a lot of American cities to work, in industry as cheap labor itself, immigrant labor. So they have to wage in the continental United States their own fights. They had to organize their own labor groups, joined with the most radical sectors of the American working class. They were people of made of young people in the 60s, like the Young Lodge Party, the Puerto Rican Socialist Party, etc., that organize Puerto Rican workers and in the community. To your question, yes, I mean, one of the first aspects of colonialism in Puerto Rico, and I can also give other examples in other imperialist countries in their colonies, was use the colonial cheap labor also as cannon fodders in American wars. One of the first things that the Americans did after, extending American citizenship to Puerto Rico in 1917 was the recruitment that very same year for Puerto Ricans in the American army to, fight in World War I. And ever, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. I mean, in Korea, they had a whole regiment, the 65th Infantry Regiment, made of Puerto Ricans, I mean, as cheap labor. And they were actually, it's a historical fact that there was a rebellion against racism in that regiment. But, continuing with this line of thought, right now, as we speak, half of the branch army is made of minorities, African Americans, Latinos, and Asians. So definitely in this case, the case of General Milley that you mentioned, the American imperialists are worried about these things. I mean, Milley asked the Department of Defense to grant him and other generals permission to include in the military academy at West Point the curriculum of race critical theory, because obviously the society has changed, and in a civil class confrontation, the branch armies is made, is composed dramatically, being represented by minorities. So this can pose a big conflict in domestic American politics and abroad too. We know that, as for example, during the Vietnam War, African Americans were soldiers, and others from other minorities were crucial in doing unities and opposing the war, and fighting for civil rights within the armed forces itself.
So do you think that that's one of the reasons Milley was against using the army against the Black Lives protesters? When Trump ordered him, said, go out there and shoot them in the knees?
Well, I think that, Milley, former Secretary of Defense, Mike Spurt, these are people that come from the armed forces, that are professional officers, and they have served alongside. Could you imagine in a 30 or 40-year military career alongside minorities, and they've seen what the army is now made of. So certainly they fear that this could, put in danger American capitalism stability. I have no doubt about that.
And Milley was attacked by the Republicans for reading Karl Marx, for reading this Marxist literature. They consider him a communist, and now they're saying he should be put on trial for treason and shot. And Milley has said now that Trump is a fascist through and through.
Yeah, I mean, General Milley said that he has read Karl Marx, Lenin, and Mao, and he's not a communist because he read that, and he believed that in the American military officers' curriculum at West Point, this matter should be studied. I mean, let's be clear. I know that you're clear, but let's make understand that General Milley is not a Bolshevik by any means. General Milley now is the CEO of a corporation, but he's a smart capitalist figure. So definitely, Trump, which is total reactionary and not sophisticated politician, he thinks and he perceives that as a threat. Well, what Milley really was doing was warning the system, about the dangers that it could face if they continue doing these things as they were doing. And yes, I think Milley denouncing Trump as a fascist, has made him a target of Trump.
And what is your estimation? We're days away from the election. Trump has said that he's not going to accept anything except a victory. They control the Supreme Court, and which passed a ruling that anything he declares as official acts, the president, he can get away with. You have a House led by Johnson, who is ready to do the bidding of Trump, unlike Pence. And there is a threat of another possible insurrection and attempted coup. Many people have not taken that seriously, the rise of fascism in the United States and a possibility of a fascist government. What's your view about that?
Well, my view is that I'm going to put this in a global context. If we actually study the global economy, we can tell that it's existing a dramatic economic crisis worldwide. So it doesn't matter what happens in the elections. There is going to be some movements toward the right and the left. Certainly, American capitalism is in crisis. These manifestations of the extreme right and reformism exposes the weakness of what is going on around the world. I mean, if he attempted to not recognize and still, and even encourage people to overturn the election results that took place in 2020, why he wouldn't do that? I mean, of course he can do it. He has said that, he's not going to take anything else for an answer. And I mean, we are seeing the rise of fascist groups and the ultra-right around the world. I mean, in Germany, the right wing is growing. In France, the right wing and the fascists are growing. And this country is not going to be any exception to it. The left and the right will win. We have to be ready and denounce these fascistic moves. We got to remember, I mean, that in 2019, 2020, and 2018, all these racist crackpots groups came out to attack people. I mean, right here in the Bay Area where we live, you know, in Berkeley, racists and fascists from all over California attempted to demonstrate. People forget that. I mean, in Charlottesville, in Virginia, these racists were yelling, "We will not be replaced." You know, that is a Nazi slogan. That was a Nazi slogan. So definitely, I mean, we got to start getting ready because the years ahead are not gonna be, like the bread and butter days of American capitalism in the 50s. You know, no, you know, that era is gone.
But yet it seems like a lot of the organizations on the left don't take it seriously. They don't think there's a danger of fascism. Is it American exceptionalism that they believe in, or why don't they take what even MSNBC is talking about, a fascist government? They're worried that they're going to be shot. Yesterday, Trump said that Cheney should face some guns. You know, some guns. I mean, they're actually inciting people to take up weapons against even conservative Republicans who are opposed to Trump and his party. Yet it seems like there isn't an organized effort, particularly not only in the left, but the unions are not discussing what would happen if Trump is elected.
Well, I mean, Trump has said that he's gonna lock up all these military personnel from previous administrations because of comments that they have said about him. He has said that he's going after the left, trade unionists. It's no secret about it. Well, you know, sometimes societies and individuals, they get into denialism. You know, right now at this moment, some people argue, well, Trump doesn't have an organized fascist movement. Okay, we don't see, you know, they aren't that, you know, it's not like we've seen thousands of brown shirts in the streets. But there are fascist groups in the United States, the Klan, the Nazis, even crackpot ultra right wings like the Proud Boys, you name it. So these groups can grow. I mean, they are encouraged by Trump. They're going to support Trump. They vote for Trump. So we should be alert, you know, and expose this possibility that it could happen. That doesn't mean in any sense any support for Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party, which are pushing for war. I mean, they are supporting the Israeli government, arming the Israeli government, equipping it, supporting its drive toward war with Iran and intervening in Lebanon. They are supporting and arming and equipping Ukraine. They are instigating war against Russia. They are in a militaristic push to try to encircle the People's Republic of China. Today, it was published that the Biden administration sent almost a couple of $1 billion to support the Argentinian right-wing crackpot government of Milei in terms of financing its purchase of American-made F-16s. So that's the world we're living, and we have to organize independently. The best guarantee that we can have against fascism is if the working class organize its own party and its own working class organizations and defeat the fascists and the liberals, which are capitalist politicians, and they are not interested in facing, the most extreme politics of capitalism, which is, ultimately fascism.
And there is obviously no working class party, mass working class party in the United States, many other countries, South Africa, Korea, many other countries, but yet in Puerto Rico as well, there is no working class party. What is the situation politically in Puerto Rico?
Well, the situation in Puerto Rico is not different to many parts of the world, like you mentioned. I mean, Puerto Rico is a colony of the United States, so the country does not have sovereignty, and it's at the mercy of the U.S. Congress, the president, and the Supreme Court of the United States. At this moment, there are a couple of reformist parties that are in a bloc organized, and that bloc is a nationalistic, social democratic bloc called the Alianza, which is an alliance between the Social Democratic Party, a member of the Socialist International, and that party's name is Partido Independentista Puerto Rican Independence Party, and they are aligned with a party called Movimiento Victoria Ciudadana, movement of civil unity. So these two parties are, are a nationalistic reformist bloc that have certain influence in some independent trade unions, and but their program is reformism. It's not anti-imperialist. It's not socialist. It's not an independent working class movement. On the other hand, you have the pro-statehood party, which is a right-wing party. It's neoliberal. It's allied with the most pathetic and reactionary sectors in the USA for the most part. It's a party that represents a lot of sectors of the Puerto Rican bourgeoisie. So they're competing in this election, which is going to take place in Tuesday. It is expected that the nationalist social democratic reformists vote will increase dramatically. So that's what is yet to be seen. Regardless, there is not at this moment in history a strong independent workers movement. Before in the 70s and through the 80s and part of the 60s, there was a strong trade union movement, socialist organizations that existed, independentista socialist groups, but that's not the case at this moment.
And the United States has sanctions on Cuba, trying to crush the Cuban Revolution of 1959. What is the relationship of Cuba and Puerto Rico? And are the people of Puerto Rico, what do they view Cuba?
Well, I mean, certainly in the Cuban Revolutionary Party in the 19th century, which was fighting in Spain, they had a section called a section Puerto Rico that was led by Puerto Ricans. And in the Cuban Revolutionary Army, there was a Puerto Rican general, and in the general staff of Jose Martin, the Second War of Independence, there were his aide-de-camp Francisco Marin and many other soldiers. They were from Puerto Rico. So historically, it's a cultural kinship between the people of Puerto Rico and the Cuban people. And even Che Guevara, in one of his speeches at the United Nations, mentions the case of the independence of Puerto Rico. That was one point that the Cuban Revolution since 59 has supported. But at this point in time, through the Antilles, is the lack of building the Caribbean United Anti-Imperialist Organization Party, or movement that would bring to an end capitalist dominion over the region. It's the region that faces the same problems as the international working class is facing. Not in many places in the world do exist independent working class movements.
Do you think that this growing crisis in the United States is going to reflect itself in Puerto Rico?
Of course. I mean, we are totally controlled by the American government. I mean, we have an old saying in Puerto Rico that says, when the Americans have a cold, we get pneumonia, because of the colonial relationship. Definitely already there are manifestations of discontent. A lot of people thought that when the Obama administration implemented the so-called Oversight and Fiscal Control Board, that would solve a lot of the problems of the island, but actually showed that all that it was a colonial imperialist the imposition of Puerto Rico, and what it did was create more problems to the working class and the poor on the island. So now people are fed up, with their situation. People don't want. Young people are complaining that they don't want to leave the island. There is a big gentrification situation that is happening. People are organizing to fight that. During the two last colonial administrations, there were laws that were signed into effect that allowed American billionaires to move to the island in order to avoid paying taxes in the United States. And people don't like that. I mean, they say that they barely can make ends and means. And then they see these billionaires and millionaires moving and, making the rents high. It's a total crisis, and people are getting sick of it, and people are complaining about it. Yes. I mean, we have to, to put it in context and to, finish this point and this question that you asked me. We see those similar problems almost everywhere in the world, because the problem is the decay of capitalism. We are living in an epoch that one political philosopher called the age of dying capitalism.
I want to thank you very much. We've been talking with Ricardo Ortiz. He's a labor researcher and has been studying not only the Puerto Rican economy and working class, but international capital and the working class around the world. So thanks for joining us on Work Week.
Thank you.